And that means that I turn on my mic and we're going to start the stream. Because, and I hear myself in the background. Not cool. There we go. Alright, we're going to get started with the pre-crew ingress checklist here in a moment. Just making sure everything is relatively good. Alright, let's go ahead and start this thing. Switching to center couch. CMC power on. One up. Power alarm. Power master alarm off. GN. Guidance and navigation computer. Oop, that's how you need. And B on. Restart. Program light reset. Herb 35. Check the pretty lights. Master alarm off. Light check is complete, almost. Verb 37. Enter 00. Enter running crew. Guidance and navigation.
1968. The floodlit
IMU
Saturn
on.
V space vehicle is poised like a giant white dart on Pad A of Launch Complex
No attention light is on.
at the John F. Kennedy Space Center. While searchlights reach up from the pad into the star-filled sky, 3 astronauts, Colonel Frank Borman, Captain James Lovell, and Major William Anders, wait inside the Apollo 8 command module for the climactic moment when the 6-million-pound rocket will lift from the ground. The manned spacecraft's target for the first time in history will be the moon.
And we're getting that spaceship ready right now.
T-minus 15, 14, 13,
It's a red.
12, 11, 10, 9.
I didn't never notice they got red once you were far away. Alright, we should be almost done with the attitude stuff. Oh, I thought it turned off while I was taking a drink there. Nope.
I'm James Lovell. I was a naval officer and also a test pilot, and finally NASA astronaut in the period of
No attention
62
light
through
off.
73.
Darn it, my checklist went away.
My life was quite varied. I was born in Ohio.
GP
My father died, though, when I was
8 ball
young.
power to 1.
And essentially,
Start
my life
program
consisted
3,
basically
or
in
program
the
1.
early years, living with my mother, who was a secretary. My early childhood was one of survival. When I was growing
No
up,
attention
Star
light
Wars
on.
was
8 ball is
the
aligning
famous,
course.
Flight across the Atlantic, and this was the inspiration for a lot of young boys growing up in the 30s. I was very much interested in
Course
aviation,
aligned.
flying. I
No
built,
attitude light off.
model airplanes.
We have a
solid works
P2.
I tried to fly.
8 ball off. Caution warnings, power to 2, master alarm off.
College,
Only have the suit compressor on, back to 1, master alarm off.
Either a naval aviator or get involved
Test
in aviation.
1 and hold. Left bank is on, master alarm bank is on. 2 boost, master alarm is off. 2 norm, master alarm back on. Test 2, 2 and hold. Right bank is on. Right master alarm is on.
I was born in Gary, Indiana, in 1928.
Release.
At the age of around
All
5 or
lights are out
6,
except for suit compression light.
contacted,
ACK.
an asteroid and signed this problem. So my parents, really at the beginning of the depression, in the height of the depression,
GTA
sold
switch
out
on.
in, Indiana.
Mode
And
Delta
moved
V.
to Arizona,
Normal.
where the doctors said that I would have a chance of recovery. As a youth,
Wait,
I had no
I did
interest
something
in
wrong.
space and rockets. While my friends were reading Flash Gordon, Buck Rogers, I was reading Smiling
There.
Jack and the Red Eagle. I was
Wait, why is it doing that? Stop that.
involved both in my memory and my aspirations with airplanes.
That's what it's supposed to do, but as soon as I change this, it starts going.
United States Air Force, NASA astronaut.
Oh, wait, maybe I'm supposed to... I'm sorry, I'm supposed to keep that open. Okay, Delta V, normal. Wait for 10 seconds, should be less than 0.1 change. Looks good. Delta V set, 15.86.8. Wonder if that GTA switch had screwed anything up by doing that. Don't think I did. And Delta V test. Number is headed down, SPS thrust is on, light is on.
My father was number 2 officer, the executive officer of the USS Panay, picking up people who were trying to escape the Seymour
We are
Japanese,
good. To
war.
standby. EMS test 1, normal. No, thank you. We don't want to know that. I need to figure out how to
He happened to be in Nanking
get this.
when the Japanese
not do
bombed
that.
the ship. The captain was taken out with the first bomb. My dad, who was gunnery officer, took over.
Alright,
And even though it got
scroll
into
to
the
index
cross,
superimpose.
it didn't save the ship, and eventually they had to abandon it.
Alright, right on the dot. EMS test 2. Wait, 10
And he was,
seconds.
pretty badly wounded.
0.05
we
G.
went to San
Light
Diego, where
should
he
go
spent,
on after 10
several months
seconds.
Connected to the San Diego Naval Hospital. So he
Mark
was
test
actually
3.
retired
3, 2,
much
1,
to
go.
his disappointment, and put in the
After 10
reserve,
seconds,
but almost
seconds lift
immediately,
vector down
fall back
light.
in when the Japanese attacked
On.
Pearl Harbor.
On. Set range function to 58. Why do I say ring?
We spent the balance of the war in San Diego, where I
58.
went
Test
to
4.
grammar school.
Perhaps the first or second year in high school, I happened to come across a pamphlet that was written in
And test complete.
1913 by a professor called Robert Goddard. His title
That's
was
nice.
A Method
Roger
of
Goddard.
Reaching Extreme Altitudes.
Lift vector up is on.
It was a story
Range
about
set
how
and
to use
standby.
liquid fuel rocket technology to get into high altitudes for exploration of the upper atmosphere.
EMS function off. GTA down.
I
Cover
didn't
closed.
understand half of the book or the pamphlet but it got me really interested. So towards the last part of my high school education, I started with some friends building rockets. We thought we would try to build a liquid fuel rocket, but we soon found out that was impossible. But we did build some solid rockets using maling tubes.
Glycol secondary valve to normal.
Combination of potassium nitrate, charcoal, and sulfur, I think it was, which turns out to be the ingredients of gunpowder.
Oh, that's up here.
I started building model airplanes with my dad's help. Eventually graduated to gas-powered model airplanes.
Indicator.
And then when I was 15, I
Secondary.
worked, I don't know how many jobs in order to
Secondary
get enough
pump to
money to
AC1.
fly get a lesson or two on the weekend. And in 1944 or 45, I sold it in a Taylorcraft.
Okay, everything's looking good. AC2.
My first aviation experience, first flight in
Secondary
airplane,
cooling pump off.
was after my dad had retired after the war. We went to a small town in
Indicator 2
southeast
prime.
Texas.
Secondary.
And I remember one day going
Loop
by
to
this battlefield, and
bypass.
here was a biplane airplane parked out in the field.
Glycol 2 pump
And they had a
AC1.
sign on the fence, biplane rides $15. Well, that was big money
AC
in those
pump
days. But my
AC1
dad
is
said, "Hey,
on.
would you like to do that?" Well, sure.
I always
Went
screw
out
up primary
and,
cumulative because
took
of
off,
discharge. But
and he asked me if I'd like
radiator
to do a loop.
flow to
I
power.
didn't know any better, so I said sure.
Wait, AC1 to AC, not crap. I screwed that up. My bad. Power auto to
So we did a
secondary
loop, and it
radiator.
impressed me that he was relatively close to the ground. To make a long story short, we flew around a little bit.
And
landed,
on
I
to
enjoyed it,
back to
and,
auto
went to
gray.
school.
Radiator
That
flow
afternoon,
power off.
Coming up to the
Oh, two
same
direct,
field, here was his airplane
just
with his
past
nose
halfway.
buried about 2 feet into the pasture. And I guess the guy had been too low and killed the passenger and the pilot.
So boost to 2. AC2 reset. Or off. Inverter 3 to main B. Inverter
I wanted to be a
AC2
pilot,
on
and I tried to join the
AC2
Air
bus
Force. The
off.
last thing they needed was pilots.
AC
You know, all the
or
people were
inverter 3 on
coming
AC
home from
bus
World
2
War II.
on
They had no pilots,
reset.
didn't know what to do with.
Master
And so
alarm
I
off.
decided, well, I'll be an aeronautical engineer. And there was
All right.
a draft on, but I volunteered for induction. On the
3.
theory I'd serve 18 months and then get the GI Bill, and I could get an education that way.
This is Camp Buckner.
All right,
Point
next.
Summer Training Site.
Reset off.
Here, cadets of the United States Military
A3.
Academy who have just finished their
Inverter 3 on
3 year
AC2 off.
engaged in a
Inverter
program
2
of
on
planned
AC2
military
off.
activity.
Reset. Master alarm off. Caution and warning lights all off except for the suit inverter. Inverter 3 is off. Select 1, 2, 3. Everything looks good. 1, 2, 3 on bus 2
I
looks
graduated
good.
from West Point in 1950.
Caution warnings
and
AC.
reported into Perrin Air
Okay.
Force Base in Sherman, Texas, to start basic flying training in a T-6 airplane.
Let's see.
And
Rad
then I went
valves.
to Williams Air Force Base
Open.
and was appointed a pilot on the 4th of August, 1951, and at Williams Air Force Base in Chandler, Arizona.
My
Fuel
local
bag
mayor
1,
wanted
2,
to sue
3
me after
on.
he saw what I did with this
or
new pressure
closed.
washer. There's a new power wash nozzle out there, and it's the most brutal cleaning tool you'll ever own. But here's the bad news. In just a few weeks, regulators will force the only company that makes it to completely gut its pressure output.
Why is
That
there so
means
many
weak water flow,
commercials? Okay. And the full bags are on and back to vent. Venting completely and
High school days.
damn it, no.
I had two choices. And the first thing, my mother wanted me to get my education all at once, and so I applied to the United States Naval Academy. But when I got my card back, or the information back from the academy, turned out that I was third alternate. So I wrote to the American Rocket Society, and I got a very nice letter back from them said that rocketry as a career is just starting. I would suggest you apply to colleges like MIT and Caltech. I'm sure you'll be successful. Well, there wasn't any money for colleges. In those days, we didn't have student loans like we do today. And consequently, my career looked pretty bleak. And then a door of opportunity. The Navy, after World War II, found out that most of the naval aviators didn't want to make the Navy their career. And consequently, all these naval aviators were going back into civilian life. And so the Navy Department set up a program to get more naval aviators into the service. I applied immediately, and I was accepted. I went to the University of Wisconsin for 2 years in a mechanical engineering course, and when I was finished there, I was sent down to Pensacola, and I was starting my naval training. Suddenly, I got from the Navy Department a set of orders that if I was still wanted to go to the Naval Academy, I should report to the Naval Academy. And consequently, I dropped my career at that time in naval aviation, and I went to the Naval Academy at Annapolis, started all over again as a plebe. In 1950, the Korean War happened. And a lot of my contemporaries that went through what we call the Holloway program that I was in originally went to see, got their wings, were in the war itself, and never got back to their last 2 years of college. So very fortunately, my mother was right. Get your education while you can.
Well, since my father was a career naval officer, I had always assumed that I would follow in his footsteps and become a naval officer. I got accepted to the Naval Academy and went away as a plebe. We went on cruises in the summer, and the second cruise as a midshipman was on an aircraft carrier. I remember almost the very first day, pilot missed the wires. It was a straight deck carrier. All the other airplanes were up in the front. He missed the wires and crashed into about 6 other airplanes, which they just pushed over the side. One day, the head of the Marine Reserve Squadron commander came out in his gull-wing Corsair, looks over and revs the engine up, and it gives the okay or the salute or whatever they do, and off he goes. Well, as he went down the catapult, this wing came up. And I remember looking over at this, he was just sitting in the cockpit, but I thought, well, he'll be picked up. So we went by, and ship missed him, and by the time the helicopter was close, his airplane sunk, and he never got out. The mortality rate that they had on that cruise, wrecking airplanes, I'm thinking, do we really want to do this? Maybe I would be better off in the Air Force, where they had 10,000 feet of nice concrete to land and take off on.
Sorry if I'm quiet, I'm actually listening to the documentary.
EVE Online is a vast universe, alive with the unrelenting activity and combined history of its players. Pursuing lives of adventure, warfare, and prosperity. They share this existence.
Activating
biggest
the
single shard,
stabilization control
free-to-play
system?
MMO of all time.
Kind of. On panel 1.
Set 21,000 years in the future.
Oh god. That's crazy if that was a real... That was a crazy shot. Controller up. AC, DC. Off. LCC. Ray 2. Control off. SPS gimbals 0, Attitude rate is at 162.90. 0. Oh, SPS.
On the American psyche.
Gimbal motors are off. US auto.
90 minutes,
Pro dump off. Purge
satellite
dump
over
off.
our heads, the first one that had ever been launched. And I started to rethink my priorities as far as the Air Force went, because I hadn't had any combat time, although I'd taught in the Fighter Weapons School. So I applied to go to the Air Force Test Pilot School, and I was accepted. We got back in the car and drove to Edwards Air Force Base, and I went into the Test Pilot School at Edwards. We were doing Zoom flights in the F-104 to get up high enough to give some people some idea of what zero-G was like in an extended period of time, and also what it was like to control an airplane in circumstances that they'd never done before. We were usually around 32,000 feet up to Mach 2, and then pull up into a 45 or 50 degree climb. About 65,000 feet, as I recall, the afterburner blew out. About 75 or 70,000 feet, you had to turn the engine off because it got too hot. You shut the engine off. So you floated over the top. And we were getting up around 90, 91,000 feet. Then came back down, relit the engine, and landed. Well, one of the times I was going out of Mach 2, all of a sudden I had an explosion in the airplane. My immediate reaction was to bail out, so I reached for the ejection handle, but then I remember I'm going that fast, so I was pretty certain that I didn't have a catastrophic failure in the back there because I still had hydraulics. And so I started it and ran it for about 2 minutes, got enough thrust, shut it off, and dead sticked, and landed on the dirt at Edwards, which was
And that's why they are
an exciting time.
pilots. Special people. Auto guarded.
I went into
Off.
naval aviation
Inject.
training, graduated in February of 1954.
Side hatch.
And I was assigned to a team. We had a plane called the Banshee, the F-2H Banshee. We were assigned to a carrier called the Shangri-La. The skipper of the ship decided that he wanted to have a combat air group flying over the task force. So I was the first person off at night. Went ahead of the carrier for about 3 or 4 minutes, made my 180 turn, came back only at 1,500 feet. I had made it special so that as a night fighter pilot, I had a light that I had built on the kneeboard during the trip from the US to Japan. And I plugged in the wire to the receptacle, and then I turned on the switch. And when I did that, I must have blew a circuit breaker because every light in my instrument panel in the cockpit went out. And I'm at 1,500 feet. I pulled out a little pen light in my suit, put it in my mouth, but it could shine on only one instrument at a time. So I very carefully turned around, still at 1,500 feet, which you should never do in a jet airplane. And I was coming back and trying to see if I could find the carrier. I did see on the surface of the water a shimmering trail that was going on, as sort of a phosphorescent thing. And then it dawned on me that perhaps that was the algae that was being churned up by the screws of a large ship. And so as I got to that, I followed it, made the turn to the right, looked at it down, followed it, and sure enough, as I came up at 1,500 feet, I could see the running lights of two airplanes circling this darkened ship. Still no lights in my cockpit, and we're coming down now at 500 feet, and I could hear them as they were landing one by one, but then we went down to 125 feet. Suddenly, when I looked down at my radar altimeter, and it was going past 20 feet, that scared me half to death. I pulled full power on the airplane, gained back up to 500 feet, made another turn around the carrier.
Looking good on the
Finally,
volts.
I crashed on the carrier. My hook got the last cable, came to a screeching halt, blew two tires, but I got down that carrier. I eventually made 107 night landings, learned my lesson from the first one, and became a competent night fighter pilot.
Where should you invest $100 today? Well, according to Elon Musk, anyone who invests in his company, SpaceX.
When I graduated from the pilot training, the Air Force, I was sent to interceptors. These are aircraft that are generally lightweight and were able to climb rapidly in order to intercept a Soviet bomber. One day, I got scrambled along with my wingman. We were sent to a place about 40 miles off the eastern shore of Iceland, well beyond our normal range. It turned out to be a Bear bomber, a six-engine counter-rotating turboprop aircraft, which is still flying even today. But as we came up alongside, I came alongside to get their number. My wingman stayed out to shoot them down in case they shot at me. As I approached, their quad 23 millimeter cannon tracked me all the way in. Came up alongside, and the crew, the Russian crew, who knew they were just there to tantalize us, were looking out the window and smiling, waving. So I gave them the finger. And I thought, you know, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I'll get into trouble. Coming up alongside a armed, probably not nuclear armed, but at least machine gun armed Bear bomber was a bit of a puckering experience, but it was, in retrospect, kind of surprising to see their crews at the windows smiling and waving. I've always thought you're known more by your enemies than you are by your friends, and so our enemies in those days, in my view, were much more worthy than some of the friends, so-called friends, we joined up with later for the domino theory. And I found it even more interesting as time went on and the Berlin Wall came down and we met our Soviet counterparts in the space program. They're all pretty nice guys and very much like we were.
Cool.
In 1958, I wanted to become a test pilot, so I applied for test pilot school at Patuxent River, Maryland. I was accepted. Suddenly, in 1958, the old NACA, the government agency that helped the aerospace industry, decided that they wanted to maybe put a man into space. And they redesignated that agency to the NASA. Well, they thought, well, what kind of a person should we put into the spacecraft? They had to be under the age of 35. They had to be a graduate of an engineering school. Had also have to graduate from a test pilot school. the Navy and the Air Force submitted about 140 names. I was one of them. NASA had selected 32 for the physical. They dropped 8, they had 32. I was one of the 32. We took a whole week having physicals. Now this physical, they did things actually in testing us that were not even necessary to see if we were physically fit for the Mercury program or any other program. Out of the 32 people that they tested over the period of time, I was the only guy to flunk the physical. I think that the Lovelace Clinic just had to flunk somebody. They couldn't prove all 32 people because that would make them look bad. And consequently, I was not accepted. I went back to Virginia Beach to start training some of the new pilots coming through on how to operate and fly the Phantom airplane.
In the Cold War period, it was mutual assured destruction. So neither side was going to do anything really, in retrospect, to upset the nuclear apple cart.
I switched the wrong button if you were paying, or the wrong switch if you were paying attention, so now I'm switching the evap reset for 58 seconds. What? No.
I was trained as a Cold Warrior, and even though looking back, the Cold War seems kind of silly, its outcome in other wars seemed even more silly. It was a serious time.
Alright, that feels about 58 seconds.
The dramatic achievements in space which occurred in recent weeks should have made clear to us all, as did the Sputnik in 1957, the impact of this adventure on the minds of men everywhere who are attempting to make a determination of which road they should take. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
When Kennedy made his speech that they were going to put a man on the moon, and that was about 2 weeks after Alan Shepard made that suborbital 15-minute flight into the Atlantic. I wasn't in the space program yet, but I thought, man, to do this before the end of the decade, how are they going to do that? I got a call from the Navy and said that NASA wanted more pilots, and would you be interested in applying again? Well, I said, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Yes, I'd be more than happy to. So the Navy submitted my name one more time.
NASA was selecting the second group of astronauts. The first 7 had already been selected. They were flying Mercury. Now they were looking for the second group. So I had volunteered.
I passed the physical very nicely. I was then finally selected for what we called the Gemini program.
I went in and told Colonel Yeager then, I said, well, look, Colonel, I got good news today. He said, what's that, Borman? I said, well, I just been selected to go to NASA. And he looked at me and he said, well, Borman, you can just kiss your blank Air Force career goodbye. And he was right.
Before I left Virginia Beach to go down, I got a set of orders that said when you arrive at Houston, get yourself some transportation over there and check into the Rice Hotel. Now, this is somewhat still secretive, so don't use your regular name. Say you're Max Peck, and the hotel will give you a room and they'll know all about it. Unpacking for a while and thinking what to do, and suddenly the phone rings, and a fellow on the line says, "Who are you?" And I said, "I'm Max Peck." He says, "No, you're not, because I'm Max Peck." And I said, "Well, I don't know. There's an awful lot of Max Pecks here, but I'm Max Peck." Well, that turned out to be Ed White. Other people were checking in, the other 9, and we all looked at each other, and I recognized Pete Conrad, and Jim McDivitt was there, and Frank Borman was there. And so that's how we all got started in the Gemini program.
I decided that being a interceptor pilot for the rest of my career was not that challenging. So I thought I'd apply for test pilot school and went and seek the advice of Chuck Yeager. He recommended that I apply to go and get a graduate degree, which I did. In the meantime, NASA put out a release for a third group of astronauts. So I was driving home from work one Friday evening, listening to the radio, and NASA, the announcer came over with the new NASA selection criteria. When he said that you either had to be a test pilot or have an advanced degree, I couldn't believe it. So I quickly pulled over the side of the road and waited for the next news cycle. To my surprise, on my birthday in 1963, I got a call from Deke Slayton saying, "How'd you like to come to work for us?" Which I accepted immediately and totally amazed that I'd made it that far. The next day, I get a call from Chuck Yeager. And he said, "Well, Bill," he said, "keep applying, but you didn't make it this time, but keep applying." Then I made the first of a series of errors. I said, "Well, Colonel Yeager, I got a better offer." "What do you mean you got a better offer?" And I said, "Well, I was just, I got a call yesterday from Deke Slayton say I've been selected for the Apollo program." He said, "Not possible." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Because I sat on the screening board for the Air Force, and for all those forms that were filled out, we threw every one of them out if they hadn't been test pilots." I said, "Well, Colonel, it must have been that letter I sent to them in parallel." Well, he went ballistic, saying that you made an end run, you went out of channels. This is Chuck Yeager. I mean, out of channels for Chuck Yeager, that's spent his life out of channels. But so he said, "I'm going to have you thrown out." Well, I immediately called Deke Slayton, the head of the astronaut group, not realizing that Deke Slayton and most of the astronauts, the Mercury astronauts, did not like Chuck Yeager. So when I told Slayton this, he said, "Don't worry about it." And I didn't realize that locked me in, since he didn't like Yeager very much.
Gemini program in toto was designed to prove all of the things that you needed to go to the moon. Number one, you had to be able to last in zero G for 2 weeks. Number two, you had to be able to rendezvous. You had to be able to dock. You had to be able to do extravehicular activity, and you had to have guided reentry. We had to prove all of these things on Gemini. And Lovell and I were assigned to Gemini 7, which was the 2-week mission.
This is John Gemini launch control, T-minus 1 minute and 41 seconds and counting. The last several minutes of the countdown, all conditions still looking good. As we proceed down to the final moments of the countdown, the launch vehicle, first stage engines will ignite and build up some 430,000 pounds of thrust. When 77% of this thrust is reached, the launch vehicle is released from the pad. All this takes a matter of seconds, some 2.5 to 3 seconds. T-minus 1 minute and counting. T-minus 1 minute and counting. T-minus 50. T-minus 40 seconds and counting. The astronauts have been alerted that the pre-valves on stage 2 that permit the oxidizer to come down into the engine compartment will be open. T-minus 30 seconds and counting. T-minus 25. T-minus 20. 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
I've flown a lot of airplanes, but I never have ridden a rocket before. And I have to tell you, the Gemini booster called the Titan was really a booster to ride. It is a two-stage booster. The fuel burned out in the booster itself. It got lighter, of course, and that meant it accelerated. First stage burned out, all else fuel was expended, and we jettisoned it. Then the second stage, now, the second stage was trying to get us all the way up into the proper altitude for being in orbit and the proper speed to get it into circular orbit, about 17,500 miles an hour. And as the second stage fuel burned off, and we got lighter and lighter, the G loading got more and more, and finally it got up to 8 Gs when suddenly the engine shut down and we went inside the spacecraft from 8 Gs to 0 Gs, and it was quite a sight. Some of the old washers and stuff that was left over by the workmen floated up.
Bob told us that they were going to test the alien craft that night.
When we first separated from the rocket, you look down. I frankly thought it was like flying a fighter airplane, but at a very high altitude. You could see, of course, the clouds below you and the oceans, airports with the runways laid out, and you see railroads and freeways. And it was very much like flying at very high altitude in an airplane, except more so. Gemini 7 required Lovell and I to stay in the cockpit of a Gemini capsule, smaller than the front seat of a Volkswagen, for 2 weeks.
I think 2 weeks in a Gemini capsule, trying to get out of pressure suits, and 2 weeks with Frank Borman is a real challenge.
Gemini 7 is basically a medical mission. It's the culmination of our efforts to increase or double man's exposure to the spaceflight environment, ending with a 14-day manned space flight.
NASA, being run by engineers, kind of looked at the astronauts as a piece of equipment that was put on on a shelf, and when the time came, they would take it off the shelf, stick it into a spacecraft, and they said, don't touch anything, and then take off, and they would find out just how humans would last.
Gemini 6 mission was Wally Schirra and Tom Stafford. It was going to be the first rendezvous with an Agena rocket. But unfortunately, the Agena blew up.
Why doesn't Gemini 6 then rendezvous with Gemini 7? Because 7 will be up there for 2 weeks. Will give us time to turn around the Gemini 6 booster and the spacecraft to rendezvous. So that's exactly what happened.
The controllers here think they heard Tom Stafford say that he had the spacecraft in sight, 7 spacecraft with its blinking lights, at 12 o'clock high. We have had no conversation via Commander Reeve at this point. And as Chris Kraft observed earlier, the ground has done all it can at this point through computations. It's all up to them now. We're standing by. We'll come back to you when we have additional information. This is Gemini Control, Houston.
We'd been up there maybe 11 or 12 days. Gemini 6 came up. First it looked like a star. Eventually it came right up to us. And here was Wally Schirra and Tom Stafford flying within a foot of us.
We flew nose to nose, side to side. We found out that flying the 2 spacecraft using our attitude thrusters was very nice, even though, of course, we didn't have wings, but we had thrusters in 0 gravity and a vacuum in space, and it was a very successful flight. We came to the conclusion that, in Gemini 6 there were 2 graduates of the Naval Academy. And in Gemini 7 there was another Naval Academy graduate, Jim Lovell, and Frank Borman was a West Pointer. And it was just that time near the Army-Navy game. And so when Gemini 6 went up to rendezvous us and came to the position that we were nose to nose, Tom Stafford held up a little plaque that said, Beat Army. I took the picture, and it was then known as the highest Beat Army rally known to man.
The reentry, you fire 3 solid retro rockets that you fire to slow you up enough so that the Earth's gravity would capture you and take you back into a landing. It was like flying an instrument landing system on an airplane, except instead of making corrections on an airplane that only make 3 to 5 degrees, you were making 180-degree corrections.
A vet told Rob Lowe this about cottage cheese and aging dogs. Watch this.
You feed your dogs cheese?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize it, but when dogs feel sick, they often stop eating, and that can actually make it harder for them.
set the Apollo program back, assigned Frank Borman to be the main astronaut interface with the accident investigation. Frank basically disappeared where this command module was being assembled and found all kinds of problems.
We found that there had been very slipshod workmanship at North American in the spacecraft. We were given carte blanche to find out what the problem was and fix it. A revealing time.
I've been waiting around hoping to fly on Gemini, realizing that being a non-test pilot and engineer has put me sort of near the bottom of the totem pole. So when I was informed by Frank Borman that I would be on his crew as a lunar module pilot, I was quite satisfied. Finally, going to get a chance to fly and maybe even land on the moon.
Jim Lovell and Bill Anders and I were out at North American with a spacecraft 104. Our mission was Apollo 9, and we were to fly basically the Apollo 8 mission, which was a rendezvous mission with the lunar module. But instead of doing it in low Earth orbit, we were going to do it out into, I believe it was an 8,000-mile orbit. We got a phone call. I was in the spacecraft that got me out and said, Deke Slayton wants to talk to you. So I went over and talked to him. Hi, Deke. I looked at him. He said, come back to Houston. And I said, Deke, I'm busy. I can't come back. He said, come back to Houston right away. Get an airplane, come back right away. And yes, sir. He said, come on in and close the door. I closed the door, and he told me that the CIA had determined that the Russians were going to try a lunar flyby before the end of 1968. And he wanted to know if we would object to changing our mission and taking just the command module and going around the moon before the Russians did.
When I learned that we were going to lose the lunar module and be accelerated for a circumlunar flight, I was quite disappointed because I knew that without the lunar module background, if I ever flew again, it would be as a command module pilot and not land on the moon.
I made 2 flights around the Earth. I've done a lot with Gemini. This is a very small flight. Of course, Apollo would be a new challenge, but the fact that we'd be the first people to go to the moon, I was very excited.
We're going to change your launch date to December. It originally was in February. We're going to move you up. You'll have to take McDivitt's command module and McDivitt will take yours, and they'll just switch time and numbers. McDivitt will be now number 9, and you'll be Apollo 8.
The final objective of President Kennedy's talk back in '61 was that we were going to land somebody on the surface of the moon and bring it back safely before the end of the decade. But in reality, to do that, you needed a pathfinder. You needed someone to really work out the majority of the problems of going to the moon, and that was Apollo 8.
We had a great deal to do and only 4 months to do it in, because this was August when we learned that our mission had been changed and we were supposed to launch in December. Blinders on, how do we make Apollo 8 work?
When I look back at 1968, of course, we were so involved in training and learning about the Apollo 8 spacecraft and getting ready for the flight. We had kind of forgotten what the tenure of the United States was in at that time.
The protesters have been prevented from marching toward the amphitheater. The clashes have occurred 5 miles away in downtown Chicago, outside the Democrats' headquarters hotel. There was serious violence there last night, Jack Lawrence reports.
They jabbed nightsticks into stomachs and skulls, battering demonstrators and bystanders who were hopelessly trapped on sidewalks, in panic with nowhere to run.
We finally moved from California to Georgia, and it was the best decision we ever made, except for one thing. I'll get to that part in a second, because it almost ruined everything. But first, we left Los Angeles last August, and
Kennedy had been assassinated, Martin Luther King had been assassinated. Things were building up.
You know, it's strange, but, and I suppose I shouldn't even admit this, but we were so absorbed in the space program and so oriented toward beating the Russian and making certain that things went well, that it didn't have a large impact on me. actually so much Cold Warriors on our own. The Cold War had 3 battles. Korea we tied, Vietnam we lost, space we won. And my Cold War was in space.
The Saturn V is the world's most powerful, successful rocket.
The Saturn V never had a failure on a manned mission. It was really a marvel of engineering and production.
It was gigantic, 365 feet tall. Weighed 6 million pounds, developed 7.5 million pounds of thrust. It was really a beast. 3 stages. It had been tested several times, each test having some anomalies.
Had 5 big engines on the first stage, 5 smaller engines on the second stage, and then 1 engine on the third stage. And the time you lifted off till you were in orbit was about 11 minutes.
Frank Borman was the sort of the rocket expert, and when he said it was okay with him, that was okay with me.
As the time got close to launch, and we figured the launch would be December 21st, 1968, that was a good window to get to the moon, and we're still worried about what the Soviets were going to do. The last night that we spent in the quarters doing final lookings at charts and maps, did one last look at the chart that showed the lunar topography and the course that we're going to go around the moon.
Woke up in the morning. My favorite breakfast is bacon and eggs, so I had bacon and eggs. Sort of the last meal. Give you your choice. But then we went and suited up.
Apollo Saturn launch control at 3 hours, 21 minutes, 27 seconds and counting. The spacecraft test conductor now has given a go for crew departure. We expect that astronauts Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, and Bill Anders will be coming out in a matter of a few minutes. This is launch control. This is Apollo Saturn launch control. It's the crew aboard the spacecraft, the 320-foot level. The hatch is closed, and we're beginning to purge the cabin to bring it to the proper atmosphere for launch, which is a combination of oxygen and nitrogen, 60% oxygen and 40% nitrogen atmosphere. Of course, the astronauts themselves are breathing pure oxygen through their spacesuits. There's Frank Borman, away from Frank, also Jim Lovell, and the final man aboard the transfer van, astronaut Bill Anders. They're being joined by 2 suit technicians, and we expect the door in the transfer van to be closed shortly. Astronaut
Deke Slayton, Director of Flight Crew Operations, also aboard the transfer van. He'll drop off here at the control center. The transfer van now departs.
We went down into the van, and the van took us to the booster, to the launch area. It's kind of eerie to go down to that big Saturn V on launch day. It's loaded with about 5.5 million pounds of high explosive.
The Apollo 8 crew now on the way to the pad. Our countdown is go at this time. Still aiming for a planned liftoff time at 7:51 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is launch control.
As we got to the gantry and went up, only the checkout people, about three nervous checkout people, were anywhere near that vehicle with us. Everybody else was a comfortable 3.5 miles away in the launch control center.
All three astronauts now getting aboard the first of two elevators that will take them to the 320-foot level and their Apollo 8 spacecraft. Now being joined by two suit technicians, gate the elevator closing, and we expect it will be going up shortly. We expect they'll be up at the 320-foot level and the Apollo 8 spacecraft in a matter of minutes from this time.
When I got on the elevator and went up 36 stories to the spacecraft, and I do remember walking on the gantry over to the spacecraft from the elevator. It was a long way down there. You could see then the size of that launch vehicle was really impressive.
Astronauts Frank Borman and Bill Anders now going across swing arm 9, the top swing arm at the launch pad, and of course the access arm that attaches to the Apollo spacecraft.
I remember looking down through the grating and thinking, boy, this is a big rocket.
Borman and Anders now have arrived in the White Room. The spacecraft commander, astronaut Frank Borman, is now aboard the Apollo 8 spacecraft, and Bill Anders is now boarding the spacecraft. Astronaut Jim Lovell, the third member of the crew, now is aboard the spacecraft. Hatch closure at 5:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Strapped in, and they closed the hatch, and we waited.
Sort of quiet during that period, because in the meantime, lots of people started coming out on the beaches, and everything was set up. People were gathered in the stands. The NASA PR guy through loudspeakers was telling everybody what was happening in the countdown at that time. And meanwhile, we heard nothing. Everything was quiet in there. We were left alone for the final countdown of the Saturn to launch.
The Apollo 8 crew standing by, spacecraft commander Frank Borman, Jim Lovell, Bill Anders.
We were out there doing our job, and here was our chance to make a major strike for freedom in the Cold War.
Propellants pressurized at this time as we come up on the 60-second mark on a flight to the moon.
First flight on the Saturn V, first to leave the Earth, so there really wasn't much to wring your hands about.
T-minus 60 seconds and counting. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. The vehicle now is completely pressurized.
I thought we had about one chance in 3 of having a successful mission.
T-minus 50 seconds and counting. We have the power transfer. We're now on the flight batteries within the launch vehicle.
Launch vehicle almost came alive, but as they opened different valves, you could hear fuel gurgling, and it swayed a little bit in the breeze.
35 seconds and counting. We'll lead up to an ignition sequence start at 8.9 seconds. This will lead up as we build up the thrust.
The biggest stress for a pilot is screwing up in public. Almost rather die than screw up in public. And so we were mainly severely motivated not to screw up.
T-minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Here we have ignition sequence start.
That's why I'm fired up to introduce the brand new Patriot Power Generator 2200X.
when the countdown came to 0, all hell broke loose. Mighty F1 engines kicked in. We were held down for a second or two to check them out, and then released.
The clock is running. Roger, clock.
The one distinguishing thing that I can say about a Saturn V launch was it was noisy. And the Saturn V was really an old man's booster because I don't believe we got more than 6 Gs. So it wasn't a rapid acceleration to begin with, it was quite slow.
The people are watching that vehicle lift off and then suddenly sort of dance away from the gantry because the vehicle's being controlled by the 4 outside F1 engines that are gimbaled. And so the guidance system gimbals them to allow the spacecraft to move a little bit away from the gantry and then start to take off.
Tower clear, 13 seconds.
Roll pitch program. Roger. How do you hear, Houston? That's clear.
I only got scared twice on the flight, and the launch was one of them. And I thought, this is a bad way to start. We've simulated everything we could think of, and we didn't simulate the launch that was unbelievably violent.
Mark, mode 1 Bravo, Apollo 8. Mode 1B.
One minute out, Mike Collins tells the crew we're looking good.
It was so noisy, you couldn't think, you couldn't speak. If something happened, you couldn't communicate.
Apollo 8 Houston, you are go for staging, over.
S2 has ignited, we can confirm. And the thrust looks good. All engines, all sources show the second stage is burning perfectly. 2 minutes, 51 seconds into the mission.
The staging from first stage to second stage particularly was extremely abrupt.
When the first stage fuel is expended, we're pulled down about 5 Gs because as the first stage gets lighter, the faster we're going.
I felt like I was being catapulted through the instrument panel. On the Saturn V, everybody was a rookie.
Apollo 8 Houston, you are go, over. Apollo 8 is go. Thank you, Houston. S4B ignition. Guidance initiate. Houston, how do you read Apollo 8? Apollo 8 reading you loud and clear.
Everything was exactly perfect. We found ourselves in orbit 11 minutes later. Then we had to go around once and a half in Earth orbit before we relit the S4B third stage and got injected out to the velocity that would allow us to escape Earth gravity and go to the moon.
Apollo 8 Houston, we'll have LOS in 1 minute. We'll pick you up again over Tenerife at 209er. Roger, Michael, thank you. All right, how does it feel up there? Very good, very good. Everything has gone real well. It looks just about the same way it did 3 years ago.
I was afraid that in that orbit and a half, the ground was obviously going over every system on board. I'm afraid if they found any anomaly at all, they were going to inject us toward the moon with some sort of concern about a system. So I was afraid that we would end up spending 11 days in Earth orbit I was relieved when I heard Mike Collins say, Apollo 8, you go for TLI, go for translunar injection.
Apollo 8, Houston. Go ahead, Houston. Apollo 8, you are go for TLI, over. Roger, understand, we're go for TLI.
Well, once you add the velocity that you already have in orbit, but you add the velocity necessary to escape it, you knew there was no coming back.
Wait, coming up on 20 seconds to ignition. Mark it, and you're looking very good.
As the spacecraft came around the Earth, on the far side of the Earth, away from the moon, we lit the third stage a second time, and that gave us the proper velocity and on the proper course to coast all the way to the moon.
So we knew we were on our way, and our fate was now in the hands of the physicists and computers.
Fast 40. So 58, 42, 59, 9, 8, 7, 4, 3, 2, light on, ignition, under ignition.
Apollo 8, Houston, you're looking good, right down the old center line. Roger, Apollo 8.
I'd like to tell you it required a great deal of skill and piloting ability, and we cheated death, but the fact is it worked perfectly.
We came into sunlight. We had to disengage from the third stage, separate.
The idea was to turn the spacecraft 180 degrees and go back to the third stage. Every flight to the moon after Apollo 8, we'd have a lunar module, and the lunar module was tucked into the end of the third stage.
What a view. Looks pretty good, huh? Lead step, Houston, we got the 4B right? Roger, Apollo 8. Roger, we're loud and clear. We've taken pictures of the S4B. The post-separation sequence is completed, and we seem to have a high gain.
We stayed closer to the S4B than I liked, because the S4B was now unpowered, but it was slowly beginning to tumble and venting, spewing out all the unburned fuel. It was a remarkable sight. I said, it looked like a giant lawn sprinkler.
Boy, it's starting to vent now, blowing down. The S4B is really venting. I understand. That is supposedly a non-propulsive vent. That is a non-propulsive vent, but it's pretty spectacular. We see the Earth now almost as a disk. Good show. Get a picture of it. We are. Phil Conrad, he lost his record.
We have a beautiful view of Florida now. We can see the Cape just the point.
Roger.
And at the same time, we can see Africa. West Africa is beautiful.
What window are you looking at?
The center window.
We slithered out of our spacesuits with some help from each other and stowed them under the seats. Then had an opportunity to look out the window and see the Earth as a full Earth for the first time. That was a beautiful sight.
Well, Mike, I can see the entire Earth now out of the center window. I can see Florida, Cuba, Central America, the whole northern half of Central America, in fact, all the way down through Argentina,
and down through Chile.
When we first left the Earth, and we were looking back at the Earth as we were going out, and we started out at a very high velocity, and slowly we're slowing down. But I could see the Earth then get smaller and smaller and smaller as we got away. It looked like being in the back seat of an automobile as you go through a tunnel, and you're looking out the back window, and you see the tunnel shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink until it gets smaller and smaller.
Are you receiving television now? Apollo 8, Houston, we just got it. You are getting it.
We had a relatively primitive black and white television camera. Frank didn't want to take it. He basically didn't want to take anything that might detract from the mission.
I was wrong because I had suggested or advocated not taking a television camera at all on the spacecraft. But I was wrong, and I was overruled by smarter people in NASA. The people deserve to understand and see and be as much a part of it as they could be.
This transmission is coming to you approximately halfway between the moon and the Earth. We've been 31 hours, about 20 minutes into flight. We have about less than 40 hours left to go to the moon. Jim is busy working, preparing lunch. Bill is playing cameraman right now, and I'm about to take a light reading on the Earth. We all feel fine. It was a very exciting ride on that big Saturn, but it worked perfectly. And we're looking forward now, of course, till the day after tomorrow when we'll be just 60 miles away from the moon. Happy birthday, Mother. Hello, Houston. It's Apollo 8. We have a television camera pointed directly at the Earth now. Okay, we're just picking it up at 3 o'clock on our screen.
The bright blob on the upper right of the screen is the Earth.
Looking better. You're holding up about 1 to 2 o'clock. Looking better. Give us a little more in that same direction. You're down at 3 o'clock now. We see about half of what you see. You're going the right way. You're going the right way. A little bit more. A little bit more. Whoa, stop right there. Mark, it's right in the center of our screen. And just hold her steady. It's really looking good. Houston, what you're seeing is the western.
Oh, hey, my microphone was off. Hello, how you doing?
The top is the North Pole.
Well, without you, I wouldn't noticed.
Center, just lower to the center, is South America. All the way down to Cape Horn. I can see Baja, California, and the southwestern part of the United States. For colors, waters.
Just getting the ship ready to launch here.
People are told you gotta drink a lot of water.
Watching an Apollo 8 documentary while we're doing it.
Clouds, of course, are bright
Getting close to time.
reflection off the Earth is much greater than the moon.
There, I've rotated the. How do I hate when I. So this room here is come up back from the capsule now. Got T-minus 42 minutes. I do fast forward those, so it's not going to take that long.
Don't see anybody waving.
Hope you could hear me. Yeah, you should be able to.
Right, well, we're seeing the entire Earth now, including the Terminator. I was just kind of curious whether I would land on the blue or the brown part of the Earth.
How long have I been sitting here?
You better hope we land in the blue part.
Oh, I don't know. Well, not doing nothing, not that long, but there are long periods of which you just kind of wait as things go. So for a few minutes, it's about to get interesting again for me, anyways. Some of this stuff isn't interesting for people, but I just stream it if people want to see how it was done back in the day.
1 lunar distance seems like a long way, but it's hardly anywhere in space. Indeed, 10 lunar distances are hardly going anywhere in space.
So this started at T-minus 4 hours, but I've done a lot of times 10 time acceleration, so it hasn't been 4 hours.
You're down now to a tiny little sand grain. And 500 lunar distances you can't really see the Earth with the naked eye physically.
Learn a lot from this documentary, though. Okay, H2 and O2 fans off.
And therefore, you know, humans were the center of universal civilization. Sounded to me like baloney the more I thought about it. Very selfish.
Bill Anders is a different kind of guy. It's kind of cool.
You know, human-centric. And so
I didn't know too much about him until this
sort of upset my view
this documentary.
on, a lot of things.
Alright, helium 1, A, B, C, and D is on. We're all gray. Helium 2, A, B, C, and D on. We are all gray.
One among millions or billions of
Gauges are looking good. Secondary fuel. Open. No, closed. My bad. Now it's open. Okay. Open those later when we run out of fuel. Checking it again. Temperature looks okay. Propellant is up there. Helium looks good.
Being an old Air Force officer, not Navy, he got a pretty bad case of air sickness. He gets that way. Gemini, because he was so tied in and so looking so straight. I was sitting next to him that if he had it at the very beginning, he overcame it and didn't even tell me. But he couldn't do that on Apollo because as soon as you got out of that seat, you had enough room to move around in, and you had to move around it.
Alright.
So he got
T-minus 23 minutes, 40
This
seconds.
is Apollo Control, Houston. Within the last hour, in a private conversation, we've learned that there is a little nausea aboard. Frank Borman reported an upset stomach.
Remember, Lovell and I were up on our couches. And this glob came up. We immediately donned, or I put on an oxygen mask. It was supposed to be saved only for fire. So the hell with that. So I put the mask on. And this thing about that big came floating up, and I thought, oh, that's fascinating. You know, I was initially repulsed, but then a physicist in me rose to the occasion. So here was a three-dimensional, multicolored, oscillating ball. And both Lovell and I kind of watched it. It was going this way, and then it split. And the laws of conservation momentum, since one piece went that way, the other piece had to go this way, right towards Lovell. So I watched it go, and it splatted like a fried egg on his chest.
That was built up a lot more than it was because, you know, the doctors all of a sudden had a chance to shine, and they'd go, oh my goodness, we ought to do this, we ought to do that.
You're in that environment for the length of time, your stomach finally says,
My favorite Apollo. That's tough. I like them each for what they've done. Does that make sense? Like, Apollo 7 was really cool because of just how they got to test out the command and service module. Apollo 8 was cool because they were the first ones to monkey around the moon. 9 was cool because they were the first to have the lunar module and got to do that. And 10, they got to go down and practice with the lunar module. I don't know, each one of them was kind of cool. I do like 17 just because it's like the epitome of it. They kind of put everything into that one. Longest on the surface and all that stuff. I like them all though. What's yours?
System history of the Apollo is fantastic. And the testing, the redundancy, the quality control, and the show that we've made, and then
1 minute until
we've made since the fire. I think it's a safe vehicle.
I'm gonna fast forward because I want to get going. 20 minutes to launch.
Apollo 8, this is Houston at 68.
Change azimuth. I don't think we need to do that, so we're not going to do that.
Okay, Apollo 8 is go.
Wait.
Apollo 8, Houston, you're right in the best bird we can find, over. You're in mission control.
Oh, okay. I was confused. It's like 90-degree azimuth. That's not right. Plus azimuth.
As in the next 2.5 minutes, we will not
16. Who? Okay, that was Matt. I know Mattingly was the pilot on that one.
We were
Now I gotta go look.
darkness. We hadn't seen the moon on the entire trip to the moon.
That's one of those that's like I still need to learn more about.
So that we could fire the rocket to slow us
16. I'll have to look at it a little bit more later. I don't want to get behind on these checklists. Oh wait, I got a little bit of time. T-minus 15 is my next action, so I could go goo now a little bit.
Frank was concerned about.
I'll always stop these twitches and go, not twitches, but streams, and go look for what something means or why something was. So this is welcome, Apollo 16. Let's remind me of who was on this.
And sure enough,
oh my God, duh, John Young.
we were supposed to lose radio communications, we lost it.
Okay, we got.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite astronauts.
Well, I'll tell you, gentlemen, that was pretty close. Okay, go ahead and start pitch one.
CSM 113.
Manley man controller clockwise. Clockwise.
We fired the engine, and that slowed us down so that we can get and be captured by the
Taurus Littrow. Yeah, that was no, yes, no, yes, no. Where did they land? Taurus Littrow was 17. Hadley's Ridge?
Pressure's holding good. Alright. Everything's good over here so far. Everything's looking good.
We went into the shadow of the moon from the sun. Call it the umbra.
There was no earthshine, there was no sunshine. And so consequently, when we looked out at the window, all the stars came out.
Descartes Highlands? What? That does not ring a bell. Two primary terrains, Cayley Plains, a smooth undulating light plane unit, and Descartes Formation. Descartes?
And yet, as
Am I saying that right?
Over my shoulder, I saw suddenly the stars disappear.
I could get really into looking at that stuff sometimes. Good mission, good astronauts, as usual.
A black hole, and that was the moon. And I must say, at that stage of the game, the hair came up on the back of my neck a little bit, that we were sailing into this black hole.
Going down to T-minus 15.
We rolled out the spacecraft.
FDAI-1, total attitude. Why is it saying that? Oh, that's why, because I'm stupid.
The sunlight started to come in. We saw the long shadows of darkness on the moon's craters.
Alright, I'm going to put that to 1-2 just because I think that needs to be...
And that's the first time we saw it.
Yeah, I'm excited for Artemis 3. I just really wish that SpaceX would orbit something. I understand their way of testing. It's really money heavy and failure heavy. Well, the Russians did that with their moon program, and it didn't end up well. So I'm not high on that form of testing right now. Why are you?
About 60 or 65 miles above the lunar surface.
Okay, my joystick might be
Translation. Rotation.
a little bit iffy. Okay, I have to save this and restart because I gotta go do my joystick, but I will just put you to a be right back screen. No, I won't. I'm just gonna stay right here because we're watching the Apollo documentary and I'm interested. I'm gonna go redo my joystick real quick.
Okay, Houston. The moon is essentially gray. No color.
You could tell how they're very dry and sinusy. I'm looking forward to Apollo or Artemis 3, but I don't know. We're going very slowly, and I know why we're going slowly, but the SLS and Orion are showing why you go slowly because they're operating very, very well right now. But SpaceX is going slowly.
Good evening. American astronauts Borman, Lovell,
and they're adding on hardware and different types of that kind of thing. They're testing out hardware. They're not achieving goals in space. They might be achieving goals with their hardware, but they're not moving forward. So I think Blue Origin's going to move aheadward in the lander area because they're not going so far from what we did in the past. Like, I understand that you have to Yeah, I did.
Going around the moon upside down
That
backwards,
is
Reed
not going to help
positioned
Artemis
the
3 at all.
So it was more like
Because
driving a car.
as far as I'm concerned, Orion and the service module are tested now. You have to test the lander now. If not, start building the lunar outpost.
I guess he was turning.
That's what I think we need to do, is start building the lunar outpost, because we know we could do that. It's most of it is tested and all that, but
coming up over the stark moon
we need to test the lander. And Blue Origin is going old school with it when it comes to packaging the lander and not having it be like the launch vehicle. SpaceX is different because of what they're trying to do, and I understand, but it just seems that it's not on schedule, so it's going to screw up Apollo, or I keep saying Apollo, but Artemis 3.
Color exterior. Find one? Yeah, I'm looking for one. C368. Anything, quick. I got it right here. Bill, I got it framed. It's very clear right here.
that would be so stressful. Okay, hold on. I have to figure out what I'm doing. Controllers.
Take several of them. Here, give it to me. Wait a minute, let me just get the right setting here now. Just calm down, Bubble. Oh, I got it right. Oh, that's a beautiful shot.
Okay, let's center point. Yeah, it's off calibration again.
For an Earthrise.
Button. Verify leave handle controller. Press button.
We didn't even have a light meter.
Okay, axis. Move around in circles. Move around in circles. Move around in circles. Center. Press button. Leave set. Press button. Axis. Forward. All the way up, all the way down. Next.
What did it really mean as the three of us looked at the Earth coming up and finally getting a true perspective of...
All right, load the game again.
Three guys just 240,000 miles from the Earth.
There's this beautiful planet, blue with white clouds, kind of brownish pink around us that we can clearly distinguish. Terribly isolated, with a black background of space.
All right, now let's switch this guy over here. There we
I
go.
thought, how insignificant we all are. Everybody I ever knew. 5 billion people.
EDS auto to up.
And
Layer rate 10 second. Engine out. Up. Verified.
A body like
RCS command.
Is there so that we can live and enjoy it.
There were no other points of color in the whole universe except for the Earth.
All right, we're getting down to business here.
The was back there 240,000 miles away. Our families, our country.
So have you played NASSP at all, if you're still there? If you're not, that's okay.
So it was a very nostalgic moment looking back at the Earth.
Nope.
We often talk about going to heaven when we die. But in reality, don't we go
I liked my own stream.
heaven when we're born? Because don't we arrive on a body that has the proper mass, that can contain water and an atmosphere, the very essentials of life? And don't we arrive on a body that's just at the right distance from a star that provides the energy to the Earth, and that energy is what caused life to evolve in the beginning? In some aspect, God has really given us a stage on which to perform. And I think that how this play comes out...
9 minutes, and I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Next action at T-minus 6 minutes.
Bill Anders, Jim Lovell, and myself have spent the day before Christmas up here doing experiments, taking pictures.
T-minus 7 minutes 30 seconds. I'm in the middle of fast forwarding it now. Time accelerating it. Gonna breeze past this one and turn my TVC power on now. Astro launch operations voice check. At 5 minutes. Got our engine lights on. Coming up to 3 minutes. Alright, verify program 2, verb 75, stand by. Temp, recorder to forward, tape motion barber pole. Ironically, I'm going to be launching into space as Apollo 8 is. That is so what it looks like when we get to the moon, too. Alright. I don't know how much I'm going to be outside the vehicle when I'm launching, just to let you know. There are switches to flip. Coming up on T-minus 2 minutes, primary glycol, radiator bypass. Next action at T-minus 1 minute 15 seconds.
Yes, sir. I have a maneuver pad. I think we'd like to start by...
I'm going to try to do something different in the stream too and put up pads in it. As I get them, I'm going to try to replace something on the side over there. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to try and do it.
System we prepared to return to the Earth. On the back side of the moon, we lit the surface propulsion engine to accelerate out of...
If you got any suggestions on volumes and stuff, if you think something's too loud and all that, feel free to let me know and I can try to adjust it. I'm somewhat new to streaming like this, so I'm just trying to get stuff nice. Alright, T-minus 1 minute 15 seconds. Bat A to C, tied. Bat B, C, tied. Pad command is off on 9 and off on 6. Pad command off. Flight recorder 45 seconds. Flight recorder is forward.
Came up with a number. I think it was 9922, if I'm not mistaken. And that number essentially said to you, do you really want to make this maneuver? It gave you a little chance to get out of it. If you didn't want to make the maneuver, you could say chance.
Push and hold GDC 9922. That's, I don't think that's what that is. Alright, no motion on either. GD check. We are go for launch, 30 seconds.
And of course, Borman gave me the elbow. He said, you know, push the button, push the button. So I pushed the button. And of course that set up the thing to fire the engine.
This button is what he was just talking about, the pro button.
10, 9. We have ignition sequence start. The engines are on. 4, 3, 2, 1. 0.
Clock is 0, program 11. Lift off. Yaw maneuver complete.
AM Eastern Standard Time.
Roll program.
We have cleared the tower.
Roger. How do you hear, Houston? That's clear.
Oh, look at that. I can look at that now. Yep. We are moving now. Roll complete. We're pitching. 45 degrees, or not 45 degrees, over 75 degrees over mode 1B propellant dump to RCS command. Cabin pressure should be decreasing soon. It's not quite shaking around a little bit. I always forget to switch that. I feel as if you only switch that when you're like auto aborting or something like that. I'm just gonna turn that off because I'm mad at it. Okay, 137. We've already passed max Q. Cabin pressure still holding. Must have already gone down. That's not cabin pressure, Jeff. Okay, cabin pressure's going down. I always look at the temperature. 2 minutes, CDS to manual, second engine out to manual, launch vehicle rate.
Inboard engines out.
Pogoing. Why?
Don't worry. That's just sunrise. These are the experts speaking.
Computer switch to PC.
Exciting for anybody.
Oh man, we're getting close. Just don't turn it back now. Oh, well, there is that. What? Well, okay, we
Coming up on staging.
Real right, hang on.
Staging. We have SEP and S2 ignition. S2 light is on. All 5 lights look good. Scale 50-10. P1 motor on. Yaw 1 motor on. P2 motor on. Oh, I did it wrong. P2 motor on. Yaw 1 motor on. Switch to GPI. Check GPI. We are set up. Back to S2 S4B. Yeah, that. Yeah. Well, this. I'll put the cover on that there, so we don't have to look at that anymore. We're at 62 miles right now. Is it kilometers? Yeah. Why do I always say miles? I mean, it's because... Oh, Jesus, the freaking tower jet never came off. You're on auto, you freaking thing. See, that's why you don't depend on things to do it there. RCS command on. 6. Arm AB open. O2 report, I guess. Auto. Yeah. Makes more sense that it would be that, but... No. What did I do? I clicked something I wasn't supposed to hit. Great. Up. Galvanized. Steam auto. I wasn't supposed to do that one. I'm gonna put it to auto because I want to. It makes me feel better about it. Arm bats. I did that already. Wait. Arm AB.
When we hit the surface.
Circuit. What? Is it over here?
Well, because we hit so hard.
That's weird.
The spacecraft had split open.
Alright, I'm using flash.
We weren't sure where the water came from. I thought at first maybe we'd
Flash! Is it down there?
But later on I think it was probably...
I'm very confused. Oh, I'm past all that. Oh, stupid me. That's why. Sometimes I get to going a little bit ahead of myself in the checklist, and then I get myself lost.
And it turned us over. So here we were, floating upside down in the Pacific.
And so with pointy end down, all the trash that it collected in the spacecraft and came raining down on our faces in the dark. And I thought this is not a great way to end this historic adventure, as if we were in a New York subway that somebody turned upside down.
Alright, S4B to orbit.
The spacecraft was going up and down and around. It was a very poor boat. A wonderful spacecraft, but a very poor boat.
100 kilometers. 53 up.
Poor Frank got sick again. Jim and I were somewhat merciless, maybe a little mean, because we were both Naval Academy graduates and he was a West Point guy.
All you did was push another switch and started a compressor, blew up a couple balloons, and the buoyancy of the balloons below the surface flipped us back right upside.
Waited quite a few hours for the sun to come up because the rescue crews
They landed in the dark?
jumped in the dark, and there were apparently sharks swimming around the spacecraft. And so they had to, I think they dispatched a few sharks so that NASA didn't make a release about that. But then jumped in and just put a stabilization ring, like a big light ring around.
Collar. It's called a stabilization collar. Moving right along. Building speed. 17,000. Is it kilometers a second then, or miles a second?
So anyway,
Miles.
we got out, and
See, that's where I get confused.
Is Apollo Control, Houston. We've just been advised that the hatch of Apollo 8, the hatch is now open.
Do you shift?
And we are advised that
I don't know what level sense arm is.
in the helicopter. No more
If you know, let me know.
than that.
I'd love to know.
First astronaut in a helicopter.
And I kept thinking this has to be the most dangerous part of the flight because whereas we had triple redundancy on most things during the flight, here was this.
Alright, we're reaching our height, or altitude.
Second astronaut in the sling and on his way. All right, the third astronaut is in the sling and is being brought up into the helicopter. Recovery 3.
Alright, so we are no longer going up. Is that level sense arm? Is that what that is? I'm gonna go with that.
And touchdown.
And waiting for engine cutoff on the S2.
20 Central Standard Time.
Astronaut Borman and Lovell and Anders standing on the steps, and a great cheer goes up from the sailors out here on the
8 minutes, 30 seconds into launch. Everything is looking good. Slowly going up to 25,000 kilometers. Staging. S2 throttle up. And we're burning.
In any previous mission, including Alan Shepard's, I've seen rallies.
Nice head down with the Earth.
I've seen happy politicians after elections, but none of them do justice to the spirit pervading this room. Someone suggested we've set the American Cancer Society's anti-smoking campaign back several light years.
I used to smoke. I decided that wasn't good and finally quit. It was really hard.
The kind of man they are, they certainly have no taste for being heroes. But even in this age of cynicism and
20 seconds to mode 4.
they may have a hard time escaping.
I think Apollo 8 was perhaps, of all the Apollo missions to the moon, was the one
We're
that
820.
least amount of problems.
Down 50. Enter.
And there were no bits of the mission that we didn't know about, we didn't plan for the follow-on lunar landing flights. I think Apollo 8's legacy is really the turning point in the history of exploration from Columbus to Lewis and Clark to Apollo.
What is 2? What is Registry 2? Registry 1... Oh, that's perigee. Registry 1 is apoapsis. Registry 2 is...
I think it helped to unify the
is periapsis, and R3, I believe, is time to apoapsis.
space of the terrible problems of Vietnam. The greatest accomplishment was doing what the president had asked us to do within the time frame that he asked us to. That was a heck of an achievement. We got tons of
Here we go.
after the flight. And I remember the one that sticks out in my mind more than any other was it said, "Congratulations, Apollo 8, you saved 1968.
Apollo 8 will go down in history as the first flight away from the Earth into another body.
And cut off. And cut off.
It will go down in the technical history as the first flight.
I think it looks like we got a 103.6 by a 97.7.
I frankly think
Orbit.
that Apollo 8 will be
Gimbal
done
motors
more
P1,
by
yaw
Earth
1, off.
100 years from now. And the fact that this was our first
Did I not
view
turn it on? Why is this
looking back
off?
at
Off.
the Earth from relative
Am I supposed to wait?
and I said at the time
Am I supposed to wait before I do this
certainly
checklist?
affected
Is
me
that what's
today,
supposed to
but
happen?
I think it's ironic that we went all the way to the moon to explore the moon. and what we
Nav.
really discovered was the Earth.
Launch insertion checklist is what we want. Now, can I do it now? P1 off. Please. I guess it wants me to wait. Why does it want me to wait? It's a good time for a break, though, and I'll just pause that right there, because that's cool looking. I'm going to use the restroom, and I'll be right back. Alright, while we're waiting here, I'm going to pull up I'm going to pull up the mission plan, flight plan. Okay, I could do the insertion checklist now, so I'm going to do that. Yaw 1, pitch 2 off, battery ties are off, TVC motors are off, flight recorder I believe is on, but hold on one second, I'm going to go and find this because I want to do a little bit more this time. What is this? I hate it when you go to something that you've been logged in, you use something every freaking day, and then it goes to you and it's like, oh, you're not logged in. Are you sure? I'm pretty sure I'm logged in. Okay, what do we want? What do we want it now? Apollo 8. I don't have the flight plan? I know how to fix that. Flight plan, flight plan, opie dopey flight plan. Opie's my dog, in case you wondered. Can I do this, I wonder? Oh no, don't stop. Studio. Minimal. I've got a plan. He's got a plan. Oh shit, he's got a plan. What do you mean he's got a plan? He's got a plan. What do you mean he's got a plan? What plan? I'm talking to myself, FYI. I'll go leave you on an outside shot while we're doing this. So it's less boring. Oh no, now it's quiet. Now I have to make it unquiet. Oh, oh, what's happening? My computer is all sorts of upset right now. I'm trying to get it not quiet for you guys. We'll see. How do I get? How do I get? Yeah, how do I get? How do I get? Yeah, how do I get? I want to zoom in. But that's not what I want people to see. I want people to see. Present. Ugh. Alright, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. That's kind of what I want to do, but kind of not what I want to do. You just wait, chat. I'm getting something. It's just so cool figured out here. I want to know why it needs to be so temperamental. Oh, that didn't do it. Oh, that's why. Okay, so we want to be 400? There. This is gonna work. Maybe. Okay, I got the width. Now I want to take it down by a half. You don't know what I'm doing, but... hey, wait, that kind of works. Can I do that? People don't really want to see this much of me, but I'm going to do it anyways. If I knew how to put the chat up, I would do that too. Excuse me. Jeez. Alright. And switch. Alright. This is kind of cool, but it's kind of missing. To me, Odin, you still there? I need your opinion. Can you read that? Okay, so we're right here. I mean, that's... I don't know how I feel about that, but that's what I'm looking at. I don't think YouTube Music wants me to use it. Should I just put the... I'll just put the thingy in. There. That's fun. Okay. Now time to get some background music going. Alright, I will be right back. Let me get you some space music going. Where'd it go? Why did it just like turn off like that? Alright, I'll be right back. What is going on? What's wrong with SB? I got a little distracted, but geez. Let's look at the primary pack temp. So 1 to 3.7 volts, so it is hot. So I'll turn off the B heater. The B heater's not on. Oh, that's because I haven't turned the heaters on. I'll just turn those on now. Okay. What I was going to do was look in the flight plan, which I don't have open anymore. Shoot. It must be really taxing my computer right now. Because it tells me to write down some things. So I'm wondering if it's in this, in here. Do I have to write them down? No. Where are all the pads at? Like the pads I gotta fill out. I'm used to that being in the flight plan. But right now we are 35 minutes into the flight. I mean, we just have to keep chugging on stuff. Alright, I did the key release. Pro. We are 25,592 kilometers a second, and we look good. Verb 37. Enter. 00. Enter. Verb 66. Oopsies. Verb 66. Enter. Setting up the DAP. 31102. Enter. 01111. Enter. Pro. 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 4, 6. I didn't need to hit that pro a second time. It's just I was trying to get the computer to do something, or the checklist to do something. Okay. R3, 1 and 2 are 0. Pro. ELS. To manual. Forget where that is. Give me a second. Found it. CSM logistics off. Push there and there. These are so hard to do. There. Okay. PLSS off. Sex arm. Bat A open. B open. Float bags are all open. ELS A and B. Bats open. Flight vent or not flight, but landing and post-landing. That's what that means. Close the direct oxygen all the way to that way. THC hand controller off. Off. Monitor tank pressures. Look okay. Turn the prime heaters on. CM propellant valves off. Caution warning to normal. Gearbox latched. Handle neutral. Waste dump heaters. A and B closed. I was probably looking right at them. A and B closed. Bit rate low. Reaction valves to normal. H2 purge line on. I'm gonna have Fred do this while I'm doing something else. We're gonna say Bill. We're gonna have Bill do this. Bill is our new guy. And while I'm waiting for that, alright, I got a few pads that I can use. I'll whip those out when we get there, I guess. How we doing on our once-overs here? Checking the power alarm. Yep. Master alarm's going off there. Checking the caution warnings. Sometimes if I know how a procedure is done, I'll just have the other person in the... I'll just put it on autopilot like they're doing it. I tend to do that with the EPS and ECS checks. If you'd like me to do them manually, let me know. That's the long bit. Oh, I gotta do stuff now. I want to do stuff now. Okay, install coalesce. Pod H2O heater. Main A. Cabin fans on. Alright, now you can do more stuff. It's kind of monitoring the cryo pressures and everything as he's going through the switch flips and watching things work. What's going on? Check our AC inverters, or AC buses. All look good. Just going through insertion checks after launch here, for those of you that are wondering. Wait, I can't increase anymore. Stupid. Wait, what's going on here? Alright, let's line up this ball here. Ah, I went the wrong way. Alright, we're all aligned now. Mount Orbital. Alright, let's switch this to dim orbit Earth. And hit verb. 8-3, enter. This will give us which way we're pointed. So we're at 11 degrees, so this close to 11.5, then we'll go to slow and go from there. There, 11.5. Alright. The CSTLI LOI redundant component check. Jeez, that's not going up. There, it's going up, okay. I understand now. Speed up, because this is going to take 5 minutes. How long is this gonna take? I don't want to do the purge. You can do the purge. Doing an H2 purge, fuel cell purge. Alright, I'll take over now. Line feeder off, EMS function off. It's funny, it's just telling me to do that now. Whatever. Guidance and navigation optics on. 0 off. Manual high. I'm gonna try to do this. Oh, you can't see it. I'm gonna pop off the dust cover. How come it did it already go off? Where's it at? Well, I didn't get to see the dust cover pop off. That's no fun. Did it fall off during launch or something? Damn. Okay, reset. Okay, we gotta wait 15 seconds. Alright. 0 off. CMC. Already did that. 22, enter, 3, enter. Find me a star. Okay, I know how to do this, so I'm just going to do it. And it's going to find a star now. Star 17. Now it's going to give me shaft to trunnion angles as it goes and finds that star. Pretty good, so we're going to switch speed to low and manual, go to our scanning telescope, and turn this to relative. And medium, because we're moving kind of fast. Mark. Star 17. Go find star 2. Alright, we almost there. Looks like it, so we'll go to speed slow, manual sextant, and chase down this star. Because we are going orb-rate with the S4B right now, so the stars are going to be moving when I'm looking at them, and it's... But I still got a good alignment out of that. Pro. Enter. 3, 7, enter. 0, 0, enter. And that is how you do a P52 ref mats. Now I'm going to go align the GDC to the IMU. To do that, we select FDA 1, attention set in IMU. We need to go to inertial. Very important. Alright, first we're going to do roll and yaw, because roll and yaw move less than pitch does. Sometimes I'm kind of stubborn about that, so we're going to take this to 110.8. 108. Close. GDC align. We didn't have that much gyro drift there, so we're just going to leave that be. It's a good alignment. Pro. I am in poo, and I will activate the DAP. Guidance and navigation optics off. Okay, we got a little bit, and then we will do the stabilization control system, attitude, reference, compare, check, which you can see on our... that's not what I wanted to hit. You can see that on our timeline here at 1:30. I was supposed to report the gyro levels.
There is no
A lot of chilling in space. Okay, so my mic has been muted for the past like 20 minutes or so. I'm going to end the stream. I'm going to go work on some more stuff that I could use in stream, and then we will see you back next time. So, like the stream, give me a thumbs up, tell me what you liked, help me make the stream better and all that stuff. Yay, science nerds. You all have a pleasant evening.